Xavier Booker, he already knocked out one thing on the wish list for Michigan State's basketball offseason. What else is still on that list? And then we talk that hockey. Woo, let's go.
You are Locked On Spartans, your daily podcast on the Michigan State Spartans, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. Make every moment more. New customers, join today and you will get $200 in bonus bets if your first bet of $5 or more wins. Just visit FanDuel.com/locked-on to get started. Spartan friends, Spartan family, Locked On Spartans listeners, thank you all so much for tuning in to Locked On Spartans, your team in green and white 5 days a week. We're going to get to hockey in segments 2 and 3. They won the Big Ten tournament title over Michigan, their 4th win over the Wolverines this year, and they got a pretty tough draw in the NCAA tournament, but as a 1 seed, again, we're going to get into that in segments 2 and 3, but first off, let's talk basketball because, Saturday sucked. That was terrible, and after the postgame show, or actually it was during the postgame show, I think, when we were talking about, all right, well, what's next in the offseason? Wondering, hey, well, line item number 1, is Xavier Booker going to come back? We've heard from some outside sources that he could be hitting the transfer portal, but we also said that people in Michigan State's house feel pretty okay with him coming back. As we were recording that, I think, he gave his pledge to returning to Michigan State to the Michigan State beat reporters in the locker room after the game, leaving no mystery, no nonsense, no drama. And look, I love Xavier Booker because he's a very exciting player, and also because this kid is almost as drama-free as it gets. He didn't even wait to get his jersey off before he just cleared all that up. So first of all, thank you, Xavier Booker. That makes life a lot less stressful. But what does this mean? Like, why is this so important? And sure, a lot of it is the obvious stuff. Like, well, we get to see his potential because, like we talked, oh God, ever since he committed to Michigan State, what have we just always talked about in this show is that he's a 5-star because of what his ceiling could be, not where he is right now. And we saw that during the process here, but also just to see where he can net out eventually as a player. So we could see that in his sophomore season. Number 2, you need, and it's become pretty clear here at Michigan State, you need NBA or professional talent on your rosters. And I know it's so obvious to say that, hey, you know what? When you have better players on your team, the whole team is going to be better. And no, it's not a perfect formula for success. Just to throw a barb at Michigan really quick, we just saw them last season have 2 NBA lottery picks and them still not even make the NCAA tournament. So it's not a perfect fix, but what talent like that does on your team is it raises the ceiling. And also, well, I think for Xavier Booker, it raises the floor of this team too. You take Xavier Booker out of the mix here for next season, we're wondering if we're going to be even on the right side of the bubble going into the year. And I know the offseason's young. There's still a lot of transfers coming in and coming out that could potentially happen. But, man, you lose Xavier Booker that quick in the offseason, we're not talking about, hey, how can you get back to the top of the Big Ten? We're talking about, can you really even make the tournament next year? So the other thing that he shores up is shooting. Now, overall on the season, I think he was humming somewhere around 33% shooting is where he ended his year. But since February, 40% shooting from Xavier Booker. He went 8 of 20. So you started to see that stroke come along throughout the season. All right. And that is something that could be an issue for Michigan State as we go into the offseason. But hey, at least you got 1 3-point threat back. Also defensively, no question about it, he helps, especially on that help side, where he could just come over with his long wingspan and just knock the layup out of the air, a la Jaren Jackson, how he used to do it. So again, guys, he raises the floor of this team. Now, what are the expectations for Booker next year? We've heard him often compared to, hey, maybe like an Adrian Payne type, and the reason we're pulling out Adrian Payne instead of Jaren Jackson for this exercise is because, well, Jaren only hung around 1 year, whereas Adrian Payne, 4-year player, in his freshman year, 2.5 points. In his sophomore year, shot up to 7 points per game. However, one big difference, one glaring difference between Payne's game and Booker's game is that Payne really didn't shoot 3-pointers until his junior and then really heavily in his senior year. So I think it's not crazy for Xavier Booker, who was 3.7 points per game this year, to go ahead and shoot up to those double digits in scoring next year, because also what's helping Booker isn't just the fact that his leash is going to be longer because he's not a freshman, and Tom Izzo likes punishing freshmen at the first mistake they make, but there's also no senior like Malik Hall in your way. All right, there's no logjam at that 4 position, or sure, he'll play a little bit of 5-2 in some lineups, but logjam's out of the way. He'll get a longer leash, and he shoots the 3-point ball pretty adequately, I would say. So is it crazy to expect 13 a game out of him next year? 14, 15? We're getting up there as far as greed goes with 15 points a game, but hey, if he's going to be this NBA prospect that we all think he could be in his sophomore year, maybe not out of the realm of possibility. So the other 2 line items for the wish list so far for Michigan State's offseason is I want to see a shooter added to this team, someone out of the portal that could hum around like a 39% clip. And maybe that's just because I'm just a little worried about where things could go here. You lost Tyson Walker, who shot 37% from deep this year. You lost Malik Caldwell. Yes, he only shot 32% from deep. Career-wise, he was a threat out there. He would draw a defender out there. AJ Hoggard, 34%. And when I say question mark, I truly mean question mark, because could it be okay for Michigan State next year? Yes. Like Trey Holloman, he showed really great glimpses. It was a little up and down, but hey, he ended the year above 40%. I think 83 pointers. Now, Jaden Akins, should he come back? That's a strong 3-point shooter. At times, we've seen how streaky of a shooter he can be. So other than that, you're banking on Garrick Norman hitting the ground running as a shooter. You're betting on Kurt Tang as a true freshman coming in and blitzing the nets like that. I don't know. And look, you also look at who else is going to be on the court when the game starts. Let's say Jeremy Fears gets that starting point guard position. Let's say Cohen Carr starts at the 4 or maybe the 3, although I do not see him as a 3 whatsoever. Regardless, as much as we love those 2 players, Jeremy Fears and Cohen Carr, what are they not mistaken as ever? That's guys that could shoot the 3-point ball pretty well, or guys that could take that lawn 2 and, well, convert it at the rate that Tyson Walker did this year. That limits the offense, because, well, you have to score the ball, to get points on the board. But we saw it earlier this year, too, with the absence of Joey Hauser, how much spacing was screwed up without him there. So if you have a lineup, let's say it's Fears at the 1, let's throw Akins at the 2, and then Norman at the 3, Carr at the 4, and Booker at the 5 for this exercise. I mean, oh boy, you're really hoping that Norman is that dead-eye shooter out there, or otherwise it could be a year of minimal spacing and even fewer 3-point shots made. So I do want to see them add someone in the portal. I know it's been heavily rumored that maybe Javon Small out of Oklahoma State could be a nice home for Michigan State. We'll keep our eye on that, but that's just an example of a guy that maybe they should keep their eye on, a guy that's about 38% shooting, 39% shooting. 3rd on the wish list, 1 is Booker coming back, taken care of. 2 is shooting. I would just like to see that just so I could sleep at night a little better in the offseason. Number 3, here's a super obvious one. It's the big man. It's the center. You got to get one out of the portal. You should have gotten one out of the portal last year. I know that's hindsight is 2020, but now after the sample size that we've seen over last year and heck, even the year before that, you need a big man. We know the story here. Offensively, it's a disaster. You don't have any back to the basket threat. You don't even have anyone that really has a post move that can finish. And yes, I do understand that Jackson Kohler, he's got the good footwork, but he's still only finishing at a 52% clip around the rim. And just the whole Jackson Kohler thing is perplexing to me. Like, I do wonder what's going to happen here this offseason, whether he sticks around with Michigan State, how they try to develop him, because playing him strictly as a 5, as someone that's 6'8" or 6'9", if he's wearing a thick pair of socks, I don't know if that's really benefiting anyone. It's not on the defensive end of the floor. He's solid-ish at rebounding, but man, just like I said, 52% finishing at the rim. And I know that his development was stunted this year with a foot injury, but it's just the way they play him at the 5. Like, sure, he's billed as this guy that could step out and knock down some shots, except, like, not really. He's a 40% shooter right now, which is kind of below average. So, and they refuse him to play him at the 4 position, or when he does play at the 4 position, like, there's still really not enough floor spacing there for it to make sense to me. So I do wonder what happens there. We're going to see what this center position could look like by the end of the offseason. Will it just be the same 3 guys plus a 4th center added in the portal? I'd be shocked, but possible. Will it be two of the guys leaving and then them adding one, if not two centers? Who knows, but it just has to happen, please. All right, we're going to talk hockey here in a hot segment. First, you need to talk your ears off about FanDuel, America's #1 sports book. Look, you guys know my bracket is absolutely fried, but that doesn't mean I haven't been winning in the tournament because, hey, over at FanDuel, I got hot on Sunday. That's right. Had myself a nice little 5-leg parlay. I also took advantage of a 50% parlay boost that FanDuel just dangled right out in front of me. So thank you, FanDuel, for everything you do for us folks that have just a bracket that should be in the bonfire right now. Now, whether you're betting on big upsets or the one seed, it's time to go dancing on America's #1 sports book. Right now, new customers, you get $200 in bonus bets if your first bet of $5 wins. That's right. That's $200 to use on point spreads, money lines. You can even pick on who's going to win it all. Or, hey, if you're loving this hockey team over here in East Lansing, Michigan State right now 11-1 to win the national title in the upcoming NCAA tournament. So just visit FanDuel.com/lockedon and bet on college hoops until they cut down the nets. Also need to talk your ears off about eBay Motors. Passion, drive, and patience. What brings home the winning trophy is also what keeps your ride or die alive. eBay Motors has everything you need to maintain your vehicle and level it up to its peak performance. From superchargers, roof racks, exhaust kits, LED headlights, and so much more. Whether you're into speed, power, or style, eBay Motors has got you covered. With over 122 million parts for your #1 ride or die, you'll always find exactly what you are looking for. And with eBay Guaranteed Fit, your part is guaranteed to fit your ride every single time, where it's your hard-earned money back. Because with eBay Motors, you're burning rubber, not cash. With all the parts you need at the prices you want, it's easy to turn your car to the MVP and bring home that win. So, what are you waiting for out there? Keep your ride or die alive at ebaymotors.com. Eligible items only, exclusions apply. eBay Guaranteed Fit, only available to U.S. customers. Well, basketball tried their best to keep us mopey over the weekend. Hey, how about that hockey team over there? Not just winning the Big Ten regular season title, but also the Big Ten tournament title over Michigan in dramatic fashion. We have Jeremy Dewar of Spartans Illustrated, the happiest man in East Lansing, here joining us for the next 15-ish minutes. Jeremy, here's a really dumb question. How you doing, man? We doing okay over there?
It's been a good 48 hours. It's yeah, man. I felt like I was sending out the politics tweet where I was like, people are asking me in the street what's happening, but it actually happened. So
yeah,
yeah, it was fun to walk around yesterday, to get to go to the game Saturday, and just I haven't come down.
How many times in the last 48 hours has the ting of that post on Patrick Geary's game-winning goal gone through your head? Is it starting to get annoying, or does it sound like that just never get annoying?
Not annoyed. I mean, I've watched it 40 times.
Okay, that's it.
Wow. 3-year-old. It was about 40 of those also for the 3-year-old to watch back. But my son is obsessed with. So the first hockey game I think that he remembers is a Michigan State high school championship game.
Gotcha.
Where they all threw their helmets and gloves, and he assumes that is now what you do on every goal, and he has since he was a year and a half old. So watching Patrick Geary throw all his stuff, even in the arena that night, I was like, Wyatt's going to flip on them throwing their stuff. And naturally, that's what he did. He wanted to watch it 30 times. But yeah, it just plays in my head, and it won't go away, and I don't want it to.
It was a yard sale out there. They were pulling equipment from inside of the storage locker just to throw on the ice, man. I couldn't believe how many sticks were in their possession, how many helmets. But yeah, what a scene. And let's just wax poetically on it. I don't really even have a setup question, because what a dramatic way to win it, not just in overtime, but against your rival, and also to go 4-1 in the season series, which still could be going on here over the weekend. We'll get to that later. But just what was your biggest takeaway from Munn? Was it something that you saw in the game as you lead up to the national tournament, or was it just embracing the whole atmosphere that you saw at Munn on Saturday night?
I mean, it's something where I think where it was fun and unique is I go back, I've had season tickets my entire life. I've been around the program for over 30 years, since I was a little kid, but something that has never happened because it didn't exist in the CCHA days, and they've never been good enough in the Big Ten, was that you never had a tournament get decided on a home site at Munn that way. Mm-hmm. In the CCHA days when they were good, it was always at Joe Louis or a neutral site game. So like that was like I had a lot of people like asking me like, hey, this is the biggest game at Munn since when? It's like honestly that doesn't compare because it's any other game at Munn that was huge was a regular season game. And even when Munn has hosted some NCAA regionals, the big moments of NCAA regional games weren't MSU games at Munn. They were Michigan scoring the Michigan goal was at Munn. Like that's other teams having that in your arena. So yeah, I couldn't believe it. The fan turnout was great. Just involved in like, I mean, from being a student here, like, I don't know if you remember when you went to games, the student section is huge and they should expand it even more. Like it's now 4 full sections as the students, and that was full the entire night. The biggest thing I think that as I walked away and took a while to think about it, and Dave Harns from Spartans Illustrated made me think about it too, seeing his tweet, like no one left for the entire trophy presentation, everything. Like, there were some people that had to like left and got out of the parking lot early, right? But like that place stayed pretty full for about a half hour after the game. And that was pretty cool.
And let's just start talking about the players on the ice. We're going to go through a few stats here. Tanner Kelly, 2 goals. Nash Nienhuis, 1 goal. Jeremy Davidson, 1 goal. And, of course, Patrick Geary, he scores the game winner, his 5th goal of the season. Trey Augustine, between the pipes, 29 saves. He had another very, very, very productive night, especially as things got a little hairy in overtime a little bit. It looks like Michigan was settling camp pretty good in Michigan State zone. But nevertheless, is there anyone that we didn't just name as far as goal scores, though, or anyone that really didn't pop on the box score that you thought had a spectacular game on Saturday that you want to point out?
I mean, I would probably call out Tanner Kelly's line mates. That 4th line was excellent. It was Tanner Kelly and Tony Ministo and Tiernan Shouty. I thought they were great. They were the best line, I think, consistently across the night. I mean, earlier in overtime, Tony Ministo had I think he ran one off the post. He had 2 great chances on one shift. Tanner Kelly's goal, the first goal, Tiernan Shouty wins the puck below the goal line and gets it up to him. And also Shouty is the one who catches the puck out of the air and gets it back to Basgall for that goal with 0.7 seconds left in the second period. So just really smart play. Didn't hurry himself and just throw it at the net. He took the time to say, we'll dish it and see what happens. So I thought that whole 4th line was excellent, even though Tanner with 2 goals, pops off. But I thought that whole 4th line was great.
And Artem Levchinov, too, he had 2 assists and obviously, defensive player of the year. He's just everything in the Big Ten. Yeah. Just what does he mean for this team? Like, other than Trey Augustine, obviously you need a hot goalie to go into the postseason. Is it Levchinov that is like the most important skater out there, or is Isaac Howard? Like, who is this most important player as we go into the NCAA tournament right now?
No, I think Artie's a good pick. Okay. It's just he's just so smooth and hard to get around on defense. And then where I thought when MSU kind of turned the game in the late second period and even the third period, like Michigan scored the only goal in the third period, but MSU, that was the best period they played all night. When they turned it, it was because they were activating their defensemen on every rush, and that was usually Artie. Like Artie was pushing up, and you had 3 forwards plus him on the front line, and him being able to do that, especially as you move in the tournament play here in the NCAAs, teams that haven't seen him and haven't played against him or played someone at his level. I think that's going to be a huge benefit because every team that you're going to play is capable of having a goaltender rob the game. Like that's they're all D1 goalies at the end of the day. So they all maybe aren't on Trey's level, but no one you're going to play has poor goaltending. They're not here if they do. But you have a player like Levchinov who can play 200 feet like that. That's where you can make a run.
Also tough just to find a bad team in this NCAA tournament. For those that don't know hockey, there's only 16 teams, all right? You're not going to get some 68th best team that's going to try to stun the world and then come up 40 goals short, right? Like these are all cream of the crop teams. Jerry, let's talk about that here in a hot second. But first, I'm so sorry. I got to move you to the penalty box. You like that instead of the bench, the penalty box over there. Because I need to talk to people's ears off about Nissan. That is right. This week's March Madness Bracket Highlight is brought to you by our friends at Nissan. Each week, we're picking one team that stands out, a team that's pushed it further than the rest. Just like any of the all-new 2024 Nissan SUVs, these guys were able to take it to the next level, like the Iowa State Cyclones. They can only be described as a Pathfinder. They've been thrilling to watch and have really created a lane for themselves, entering the tournament as one of the hottest teams in the country. They have a date with Illinois this Thursday in the Sweet 16, or America's sweethearts, the NC State Wolfpack, are obviously this week's Nissan Rogue. This team absolutely surprised us all with a powerful performance in their first two games of the tournament, with wins over Texas Tech and Oakland. They set themselves up to play Marquette in the Sweet 16. They say win life, go Rogue, and that is exactly what the Wolfpack have done here. So take the Nissan Rogue, Nissan Pathfinder, or Nissan Armada and go find your next big adventure. Shop NissanUSA.com. Now let's drag the one, the only Jeremy Dewar of Spartans Illustrated back into the mix here, because the bracket's set. Michigan State has a 1 seed, and holy smokes, down in Maryland, that is a tough draw. And not to contradict myself, I know we just said that all teams in this NCAA tournament are good, but my God, they get, well, in the first game, Western Michigan, and then they play the winner, should they beat the Broncos, of Michigan again, great, or North Dakota, a team that was right on that 1 seed line for most of the season, if not all of the season. Instant thoughts when you saw that group draw for the bracket, Jeremy?
So I knew on Saturday night it was pretty much a guarantee we were going to get Western. The way the hockey tournament works, they use the pairwise rankings. You can basically you know what all the matchups should be. There's a little bit of finagling they have to do with where teams play, and that can kind of cause a domino effect. But like, it was 99% sure we're going to play Western. So that part I knew. Seeing North Dakota pop up, I knew North Dakota was going to get Michigan. So as soon as they showed North Dakota, I instantly had just like, I don't want to see that team again. And there they were. Yeah, I mean, it's a tough region. I mean, everything is going to be a tough region, but I think out of the four, this is probably the toughest region. But I guess that also lines up with you're the 4th 1 seed. You should have probably the toughest region. So, even was talking to some of the players last night on what they thought, and they all kind of said similar things like, yeah, it's a tough draw, but I mean, it was going to be hard no matter what. Might as well just get it out and play now. So, yeah, tough draw. It's going to be a weird setup. It's in Maryland Heights, Missouri, right outside of St. Louis, and it's a really small rink. I have clients play there. It's like 2,500 people, so this is going to be a really, really unique setup, especially once you add some pep bands into that area. Like, I don't know how many actual fans are going to be able to get in, but it's still a rink, still 200 feet. Do the Hoosiers speech, still 200 feet by 85.
I guess.
Make it work. They've all played AAA hockey in this arena at some point in their life. They'll be fine. It'll feel weird as a college athlete to do it, but
sure,
they'll adjust.
The summit isn't still open around Lansing, is it? Because, like, can you practice around there to get a feel for, like, playing in front of 18 people, like, just to get yourself acclimated around this situation?
No, the summit is closed. It's a grill house now.
Yeah, okay.
They can go over to Suburban, I guess. No, I think for them, honestly, like, I was trying to think of for these guys, probably what it will feel mostly like, and a lot of these guys, because of being in the USHL or playing in the NTDP themselves, it's going to feel like playing in the NTDP arena in Plymouth. Technically even a little smaller. Plymouth is 3,500. So, but yeah, I mean, these guys have played in big arenas with no seats. This is just going to be, or with no one sitting in the seats. This is just going to be a small arena where it's completely packed with pep bands. So it's going to be loud, but I think they'll be fine. After the first couple of shifts, you'll figure it out.
Maryland Heights too. I don't think I said the Heights part of that. I think it just said Maryland.
It's confusing.
So thank you for adding the Maryland Heights. I think I said that wrong. Anyway, how much do you know about Western Michigan? I'll just add some very, very basic stats right here. They're 21-15-1, and this will actually be their first game against a Big Ten team this season. They finished 5th in a pretty loaded NCHC. But how much do you know about the Broncos, Jeremy?
I mean, a little bit. I've got enough friends that are Broncos first fans and follow their program a little bit. I mean, they're a steady program, third year for this coach, third year in the tournament. I think they were a lot more like middling than they probably thought they would be this year. They have a couple big goal scorers in Dylan Went and Sam Colangelo, who's a transfer from Northeastern University.
Gotcha.
But yeah, I mean, they're steady in the NCHC, but they really kind of struggled down the stretch, like losing in the playoffs to St. Cloud. They got swept by North Dakota at the end of the season. So I think they're trending not the way you want to be trending right now, and also been off for a while because they lost to St. Cloud in the NCHC quarters. So they didn't play last weekend. So they'll
Gotcha.
When they start this game Friday, it's been at least almost 2 full weeks since they've played. So which can be good. Guys have rested up. If you had any injuries, that's nice. But I can tell you, like, rust sets really quickly in hockey. So it is not great to sit around for that extra time, especially if your opponent played last week. So that'll be interesting. I think MSU's got to try and jump on them early. Don't let them settle into the game, because then you lose that advantage.
Now, if I want to say that one more time, if I do not need a Locked On Spartans jinx thrown at me yet again, if they move past Western Michigan, who would you rather see them play in the next round? Because look, Michigan, you're 4-1 against them this year. That's fun. See the same team 6 times, that can be taxing. However, North Dakota actually has higher odds to win the national title than Michigan State does. And that just kind of speaks to how strong of a program they have over there. So who would you rather see again if Michigan State goes past Western Michigan? Have to emphasize that.
It's got to be North Dakota. I don't think the only way that playing Michigan is great is if you win.
Correct.
You're risking a lot. If you 4-2, but they knocked you out of the NCAAs, it's not great. So, I mean, at the end of the day, we are 4-1 against Michigan, but one of those wins was at Yost, where they outplayed us massively for 35 minutes, right? So it's like you are 4-1, but I think it's been a much more even season matchup than that will show. So I think that you don't want to play a team a 6th time, a 6th time, and they're coming off. You just beat them in a team. Like, they have all the extra motivation on their side of things. So I would rather see North Dakota. I think it'd be a better matchup as an MSU fan, a little less nervousness going into it. But also I think that it's just, it's incredibly hard to beat a team five times in a row when they're not that lesser than you as talent level. They are right there with you. So
playoff hockey with no care who wins is already stressful enough. You have a team you root in there, that it gets to dangerous levels of stress. And if it's against your rival, oh my God, I just feel like curl up into a ball and just crying the entire time. But I did do a happiness hedge. I did bet Michigan plus 250 to make the Frozen Four. So I've already done my penance right there. But let's just end it right here, because after the game, I thought this was actually fascinating. Instead of just not going on Twitter and enjoying the rest of their week and whatever, Michigan fans felt the need to hop on after the overtime win and point to only one thing. Again, Michigan State is up 4-1 in this series in the season. And the only thing they wanted to talk about was the officiating, which, if you didn't get enough of that during football season from them or basketball season, it also bleeds into hockey season. So, Jeremy, I just thought it was fascinating that they're just a few refs away from actually being the best team in the country. Is it really just that cut and dry, like they want to let on to believe in Ann Arbor, or is it actually a little more than that for the Wolverines? Because I just really thought that was interesting.
Well, so couple of things on background. One, that is them every year. I know we all cheat on
shocker.
Football,
wow. Okay.
They would have a few more NCAA titles if it wasn't for a goal review in a game against Miami in like the early to mid 2000s. Like there's a lot there. I will say, as someone, I love being in the arena, but I do know that I miss a lot of things when I'm there. That goal that they did call for MSU, that third goal, I've never seen that. Like my wife asked me, she's like, "What do you think?" I'm like, "There's no way they're gonna say that they blew the whistle or." Even in the NHL, I don't think this exists in college hockey. They have what's called intent to blow, which is the time between you picking your hand to your mouth. If you were you were going to blow it dead and the puck went in, you can say, I had intent to blow it dead and it's not a goal. So I was literally thinking, like, there's no way they're going to call this a goal. So, like, all I could do when they did call it a goal is I just typed LOL. Like, I did not expect that in any way. Now, so if I was a Michigan fan, I'd be pretty livid at that. I got to be honest.
Good, actually. That makes me a little happier. Good.
Yeah, I would be pretty livid. But at the same time, like, as I've texted all my Michigan buddies since that game, some who even work for the program, I'm like, like 3 minutes into overtime, we turn it over to Seamus Casey in the slot, and he has the game on his stick. If you bury that, it's over. It doesn't matter. Like, or if you bury goals when you like had that hot start in the first period. Yes, I know you had one waved off, which was correctly waved off. That was obvious goaltender interference when you push a defenseman into the goalie like that. But like if you bury your chances, you're not in that spot. Like at the end of the day, that goal that they gave MSU late in the second period to make it 3-3, you then gave up another goal a minute later because your team led up with under 10 seconds to play in the period.
Now, look at us just talking about a winning team. We're going to talk about them yet again, whether it's with Jeremy, whether it's with someone else. But yes, before Friday at 5 p.m. when this puck drops, we're going to talk a little more hockey. But hey, gang, until then, that's Jeremy Dewar of Spartans Illustrated. And we will be back tomorrow. We'll be back every single day this week because that's what we do here in Locked On Spartans. Until then, love you all. Go Green.